Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Muslim Binds and Ramadan Mubarak. I'm with Rohaib, and
Hey,
we are doing a remote reaction. So hopefully we can be more consistent and stuff like
yeah, I
that.
got tired of driving to Hamza's house. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, but
Yeah,
so
no.
what we're gonna be reacting to is this video right here. This red cow might destroy the world. And want to give a brief 30-second intro, Rohaib, to this?
Yeah, so I'm sure you guys who are up with the kind of whole Palestine situation or just kind of like eschatology in general may have heard about these red cows. So in the Old Testament, there are kind of instructions laid out on how to purify yourself as a Jew for the construction of the temple. And so they believe the Jews or Israel they have the Temple Institute. They have possession of five cows, red cows, that they hope to sacrifice actually here within probably within the next month in April, so that can bring about the first steps in reestablishing the third temple for their preparation and arrival of Messiah. So this is I mean, this is some pretty wild stuff. Some people can call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, or if you're not even religious, this may mean nothing to you. But the whole point is that the implications that it could have on a global level, whether you're religious or not, are pretty large. I mean, the tension's already high with Gaza. I mean, if they somehow destroy Masjid Aqsa to build this temple, could wreak
Yeah.
havoc.
So let's see what this is about.
What if I told you that the world is ending and it's all because of a red cow? What? Sounds crazy. But stay with me because, as unusual as this sounds, this isn't sensationalism or clickbait. You see, on January 14th, 100 days into the war, Hamas spokesman Abu Ubaidah released a statement reiterating the motives for the October 7th attack against the state of Israel. During his speech, he cited the arrival of the red heifers into occupied Palestine and described it as a provocation, which seems like a totally random
Some
claim,
red cow, super
especially
red.
against the backdrop of
The
the
most
other
red I've ever seen.
justifications for the October 7th attack, such as the ongoing occupation, the expansion of illegal settlements on stolen Palestinian land, the thousands of Palestinian hostages illegally held in Israeli prisons, the blockade and siege of Gaza, and the normalization deals between Israel and the Arab states. But upon closer examination, the arrival of the red heifers is a significant event, not only for the people of Israel and Palestine, but for the entire world. You see, the red heifer plays a central role in a prophecy of epic magnitude. It isn't just a cow, it's a domino in what many around the world perceive to be the end of times. By the end of this video, you will understand how the religious beliefs of the world's most influential religions regarding the final destiny of mankind, known as eschatology, are converging onto a single point, a single event that could have ramifications so great that it brings about the end of the world as we know it. And it all starts with a red cow. Now, before we continue, I need you to
And
understand
some
something.
Indians must be feeling really betrayed right now.
What do you mean?
You know how Indians are in huge support of Israel and the Zionist state? And then,
Mm.
I saw a joke the other day on just like on Instagram, someone made a post. It's like India when they realize that they've been supporting uh, Israel just for them to sacrifice a cow.
Oh, I never thought about that. But this is pretty crazy so far. Kind of like explaining how the reason this whole issue happened with is
Yeah, the fact that Abu Ubaidah mentioned that as a reason for October the 7th attacks, I mean, that's not a small thing. They know what it means, right? We know like as Muslims about Dajjal. Obviously, like, who is the Dajjal going to be? An important figure to the Abrahamic faiths in the whole world. So if the Jews are preparing for the arrival of somebody, escalating the situation, beginning. I mean, the last time they did this kind of ritual for the red cow sacrifice was 2,000 years ago. And it's not something they can just do every day. The requirements for these cows are pretty strict.
pretty
And then on
red.
top of that, what it entails is, establishing a temple. What's going to happen to Aqsa, the whole compound? What does that mean for
Yeah.
the Muslim? How will that affect the Muslims all over the world, 2 billion strong? I mean, this is not
So
light
it's not
stuff.
just not like the background of this whole situation is more than what the public
Yeah,
thinks
there are
or
religious
knows.
undertones.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not just completely secular. There are religious motives to all this. Yeah, that's why, like the IDF and the Jews who are kind of just annihilating Gaza. They refer to the Palestinians as Amalek, which is in the Old Testament a tribe that the Israelites annihilated.
Yeah,
Because
using those
they
old
think
scriptures to justify them killing.
exactly
But
right,
a lot
right.
of people will say those scriptures are not relevant anymore, but they're still like using them, which is a
Exactly, yeah.
problem.
There's scripture twisting to just fit, common narrative. It's both secular and religious at this point.
Hmm. Let's continue on.
And something. It doesn't matter who you are or what you believe. Whether you're Muslim, Christian, Jewish, agnostic, atheist, these ideas are real to the people and influential groups acting upon them. These ideas can thus affect you, regardless of your personal beliefs, because their actions could trigger catastrophic events for not just the Middle East, but for the whole world. Let's start off with a brief introduction. There are many who insist that the Palestinian-Israeli conflict isn't a religious one, that it's a geopolitical one, and a story of settler colonialism. While this is true, the religious undertones at play cannot be denied. We all know that Jerusalem is one of the holiest cities in the entire world, revered by the three Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And at the very heart of Jerusalem is a very important site, the Al-Aqsa Masjid compound. And at the center of the compound is the Golden Dome of the Rock. To Muslims, the Al-Aqsa compound is the third holiest site in Islam. To Jews, it's believed to be the site of the Temple Mount, where the first and second temples once stood. The first temple was built by the prophet king Solomon, destroyed by the Babylonians when Nebuchadnezzar conquered Jerusalem, rebuilt as the second temple by King Herod, and destroyed again by the Romans when they conquered Jerusalem in the first century. This temple is central to the Jewish faith, and there is debate within Judaism over how and when the temple will be rebuilt. To Jews, this isn't just wishful thinking, it's a prophecy. The construction of the temple and the arrival of their Messiah is an event that will come to pass and vindicate the Jewish faith. Religious Jews long to reestablish not only their
Using those
historical
AI
faith,
generated
but
images.
also their
I know it looks pretty
relationship
like
with God.
epic
It
in a
is
bad way.
believed that before the first temple was conquered and destroyed, the spirit of Hashem, or God, abandoned
The Ark of the
temple. So
Covenant.
in a way, the relationship of the Jewish people to God has been severed and cannot be fully restored until the temple is reconstructed. For God's promise to the Jews to be confirmed, the temple must be rebuilt and the Messiah must appear. For thousands of years, this was completely out of reach until Israel reconquered Jerusalem from the Arabs in 1967.
When Commander Gore declared that the Temple Mount was back in Jewish hands, it rekindled hope for a long-awaited Third Temple.
The Six-Day War was a miracle of biblical proportions and was a cataclysmic opening of a new era for Israel and for the whole world.
This was seen by some as a divinely ordained event and a necessary step towards the re-establishment of the Holy Temple. But there's a problem, a massive problem. The Jews believe this temple must be rebuilt on Temple Mount, meaning the Al-Aqsa compound, the Islamic holy site, must be destroyed. And so despite controlling Jerusalem for the last 60 plus years, Israel has been quiet about any intentions to rebuild the temple, as this would be seen as a major provocation and incite a war between Israel and the Muslim world. But working in the background are groups dedicated to the destruction of Al-Aqsa and the reconstruction of the temple. One such group, the Temple Institute, has worked diligently for years.
It's pretty crazy, bro.
So we know about the Dajjal coming. We know about the end of time signs. Almost all the minor signs have happened. Now, in what state and in what order these final minor signs will happen, like the Euphrates River uncovering a mountain of gold, or the Mahdi arriving, or the years of tribulation before the Mahdi's arrival, according to some hadith, it's hard to say. But I mean, we do see things moving in a way that kind of Muslims and I'll say Jews and Christians should all take seriously. Evangelical Christians, believe this is the stepping stone for their Messiah to come back. The Jews believe this is the arrival of their Messiah. 4,000 years later, and then the Muslims believe that this could be an indication of Mahdi coming, Dajjal, the Malhama, the Great War, end times like escalating. So the fall of Aqsa, what what they're establishing, the sacrifice of the red cows. I mean, what that means for the Palestinian people is also not so good. I mean, things are just escalating there to level. I mean, they're even digging. I mean, if you look at under Aqsa compound, I'm sure you may have heard of this. They're digging these huge tunnels because they're trying to weaken the foundation, as almost as if they want it to collapse on its own to kind of maybe dodge the full blame of it falling. I mean, who knows? But the point is, they're digging excessively underneath it, which has been proven to already have weakened the foundation of the whole compound. If you go to the rock, you'll see fractures all over the dome and
ceilings and stuff like that. So it's. I mean, I honestly never even knew about any of this stuff, but
I mean, Allahu Alam, like what direction it goes, bro. But like, isn't it kind of interesting what they're preparing for?
And all this background stuff that no one ever talks about. Like, it's not just a geopolitical issue. All this stuff has been planned for like 80 years.
There is this important rabbi figure. I think they called him Rebbe. I don't really know exactly what his title is, but he was close to Netanyahu before he became prime minister of Israel. And he told Netanyahu, he said that you will be the last prime minister of Israel. So he predicted that he would be the prime minister. And he said that you will be the last one because you will be the one to hand over the scepter to the Messiah. You will give over the leadership to the Messiah. So the Jews and I guess you could say like some of the, I mean, you have different sects that probably believe in different things. Like the Orthodox Jews don't even think that the Israeli state is valid. But you have these pro-Zionist religious Jews that are advocating for what's happening, advocating for the destruction of the temple, and also believing they're in the era of the arrival of their Messiah. Islamically, how credible that is, we don't know, but we do know we're in the end times. And we do know that we should be on guard no matter what. And you see what's happening in Palestine and the Muslims all over the world, all the other signs of the Prophet that he said would happen have happened or are currently happening or are in place to happen. Like the Euphrates River has been drying. I mean, Allahu Alam when it will happen, but if you just use your reasoning and you see the state of the river, and he said that one day it'll uncover a mountain of gold, then one can speculate that it will reach that point where it will dry up and uncover something. So we're just,
it's a matter of time.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of innocent Muslims are being in the crossfires.
Yeah.
Let's continue on.
Here's raising money and awareness and building relationships with powerful forces both in Israel and around the world to facilitate the construction of the Third Temple. And after decades of occupation and growing disinterest in the cause of the Palestinian people, their calls for the reconstruction of the temple have grown louder and louder.
Talk of rebuilding the temple is no longer considered a fringe idea.
Today, there is a lobby in the Knesset of how many members of Knesset that are constantly speaking about Jewish rights to pray on the Temple Mount. There are members of Knesset that actually talk about the rebuilding of the Holy Temple. Do you understand that 20 years ago, these people wouldn't have been given a moment?
Bro, doesn't the landscape look like Attack on Titan?
Yeah, kind of. Like the house, the style of it, the walls.
On television in Israel to say these things, they would have been laughed out.
So a few years ago, this was considered fringe.
Zealots, lunatics, peculiar. Today it's mainstream.
And this group is also supported by powerful evangelical Christians in the West. For evangelicals, they view the construction of the temple as a necessary precursor to the return
That's
of
so
Christ.
funny because they're diametrically opposed in their ideologies.
Because the Jews believe that all Gentiles, aka
the opposite goals by getting
will
it
serve
together.
the Jews when the Messiah returns, while the evangelicals believe that Christ will return and either convert or kill the Jews. Bit of an awkward relationship. The means to get there are the same for both groups, however. Al-Aqsa must be destroyed, and the temple must be rebuilt. And this puts them at odds with the
big groups with
world,
theological
primarily
incentives to
the
get rid of the
Palestinians
Aqsa
who
compound.
Yeah.
view themselves as the defenders and custodians of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Okay, so we have historical context now, but what does this all have to do with cows? Well, according to Jewish theology, the temple cannot be reconstructed until the Jews of Israel are purified, and the process of purification requires the sacrifice of a rare type of cow.
It says that God spoke to Moses and Aaron saying, "This is the ritual law that God has commanded, instruct the children of Israel to bring you a red cow without blemish, in which there is no defect, and on which no yoke has been laid." So it says that we're supposed to take a perfectly red cow with no white hairs or dark hairs at all, and a cow that no yoke has ever been on. So as a result, it's very, very rare to find a baby cow that is completely red.
It's basically the bougiest cow of all time. This kind of red heifer has been incredibly difficult to find. Even with genetic modification and breeding, finding the perfect red heifer domestically in Israel has been near impossible. But in 2022, 5 of these perfect red heifers were discovered on a ranch in Texas. The Temple Institute
In Texas, our
spent over
state.
$500,000
We've been
to
betrayed.
airlift
I
these
know.
red heifers to Israel, where they were placed
$500,000.
on a secretive farm for protecting and grooming. Now, they were too young to sacrifice in 2022. Per the rules of their theology, the Jews cannot sacrifice these heifers and purify the Jews of Israel until they reach a certain age.
The book of Numbers explains that ashes of the red heifer are used to purify priests for their service in the temple. These red heifers are now between 1.5 to 2 years old. To replicate the ceremony mentioned in the Bible, they need to be at least 3 years old.
In April of this year, these heifers will be of age and the sacrifice can commence. To prepare for this, the Temple Institute and other groups have been making all sorts of preparations. Firstly, the sacrifice must be made by the perfect priest. Not only
They have the
trained
altar
in
built
the
already, by
process
the
of
way.
sacrifice, but also
Really?
with a direct
So-
Yeah,
bloodline
they're
to
ready for this,
Aaron,
man.
Sometimes in the
brother
next
of
month, literally.
Moses. The sacrifice must also be made east of the Temple Mount, around the Mount of Olives, where the priests can be within sight of the compound itself. And this land has already been purchased.
According to those working on the project, the ceremony of the red heifer needs to be performed on the Mount of Olives and in a place that would have looked directly into where the temple stood. The land I'm standing on, bought 12 years ago, fits both of those standards.
It's had to be exactly at the front, a place that the priest that made this ceremony can see the holy of the holy place.
Rabbi Yitzhak Mamo owns the land here on the Mount of Olives.
And we hope that in a year and a half from today, we can make here in this area the ceremony of the red heifer. That actually will be the first step to the temple.
Mamo says the ceremony needs priests who have not been defiled by touching anything dead.
The Temple Institute actually have 9 pure priests, and they are pure, and they are waiting. So we have the priest, we have the red heifer, we have the land, and we have
Yeah, the
everything
blueprints
ready.
and
We
the
just
material.
Never
wait
touch
another
anything
1.5
dead?
year.
Like any animal ever? What does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know if it extends to everything, like even like swatting a fly, but I think it definitely includes like if
what
there's.
about eating food? That's dead food.
Yeah, I don't know,
Come on,
man. Maybe
How
they're
are you
maybe
alive?
maybe I don't know. I have no idea.
But if they eat a plant, they're killing a plant and it's a dead.
Even like I think it's like dead relatives or something. Like uncle passes
Oh,
away,
like
you
dead
can't.
people. Or
I think that's
dead
most
animals?
likely what it is. I mean, I'm not sure, but I think it has to be like specifically touching like a dead carcass, like an animal or a body. But
Oh, okay.
I have a feeling when it comes to food, that might be like an excuse. I don't know.
Okay, interesting.
Temple Institute is so serious about these preparations that they have already used diamond cutting tools to form the massive stones that will be used for construction of the new temple. As per Jewish creed, the stones cannot be carved with metal tools. And they have even
weird
prepared the ornaments that
restriction.
will be placed inside the temple once it's rebuilt. And there are many other specific requirements for the temple's construction that have been undertaken. Okay, so now you should understand why Abu Ubaidah made it a point to mention the arrival of the red heifers. To you and I, it may seem like a superstitious ritual with no bearing on the situation, but as I have already laid out, it is the first major step in a series of steps that will facilitate the destruction of the Al-Aqsa compound. And this
Or
is
the
what will
attempted
trigger
destruction.
a catastrophic showdown between civilizations. Once the heifer is sacrificed, it will be burned and its ashes will be mixed with water, which will be used to purify the Jews of Israel, who will then be allowed to construct the temple, with the ornaments and construction materials already prepared in accordance with Jewish law. This process will be rather quick. Another thing to keep in mind is the archaeological excavation that has been taking place
the digging.
underneath the Al-Aqsa compound. The Israelis claim it's for archaeological purposes, but they have never allowed Palestinians to participate or even observe this process.
I mean, it could be a double
Many
intention,
believe that
probably
this
both. To weaken the foundation
I mean,
and maybe look for the Ark of the Covenant.
Pretty clear that it's for the like
Destruction
destroy
of
the
the
temple, like
right. They already control it so much they don't let Muslims on it. It's
what
such
a
a
weird
place.
thing to burn the cow then bathe in it. What type of
Yeah, it's a
ritual is
weird
that?
ritual. Yeah, it's very odd. That's
Hindus definitely won't like that.
That's what I'm saying, man. It's so ironic. But
excavation is part of a dangerous agenda to weaken the foundations of the Al-Aqsa Mosque and bring about its collapse. There are reports of growing cracks in the foundation walls and ceilings of the mosque itself. Any attempt to repair them has been ignored and rejected by the Israeli government. In 2023, these excavations reached their most extreme point, with unprecedented levels of digging taking
it makes sense
place
while they're distracted in Gaza.
compound. And in May of 2023, just a year ago, Netanyahu's cabinet held a meeting underneath Al-Aqsa. If you still aren't convinced of the intent of the...
What the hell? That's just like pure evil.
Yeah, it's very clear writing is on
That's
the
so
wall.
dystopian too. They're just all sitting there in ruins.
Yeah.
It's messed up.
Temple Institute to destroy the mosque. Just take a look at this purpose statement on their website. In it, they detail that the Temple Mount rightfully belongs to the Jews, that the Palestinians are the modern people of Amalek, a tribe which the Jews destroyed thousands of years ago. This is pretty fucking crazy, right? This isn't just the mission of some NGO operating in Israel. It's an entire movement picking up steam that is pervasive in Israeli society. The Temple Institute has given custom-made battle horns used during the war with the Amaleks to the IDF so that they can blow them in the Gaza Strip. And soldiers can be seen erecting signs, flags, and graffiti on homes in the Gaza Strip.
I've seen the sign in New York.
Of the temple and the
That crown.
destruction of the mosque. The writing is literally on the wall.
Most Christians, I think, don't think about the third temple, but those who do believe that it will be built before Jesus returns and that the Antichrist will take over that third
It's in the scripture. It's in the Bible that the Antichrist will sit in the temple.
From there, could it happen in our lifetime? That to me is intriguing. I think we don't know, but there are some Jews who are really making, as you're reporting on, preparations to get ready for that moment, and that's something to watch closely.
To many, this isn't just a war between a rebel group and an occupier. It's a war of conquest by religious zealots in the same vein as the Crusaders and ISIS. And it's all coming to a head. Hamas felt so strongly about this provocation that they cited it as a motive for October 7th.
نذكر بعدوان بلغ أقصى مداه على مسرانا وأقصانا وبدأ تقسيمه الزماني والمكاني فعلا وأحضرت البقرات الحمر تطبيقا لخرافة دينية
I mean, that shows you they don't think it's a small deal.
للعدوان على مشاعر أمة كاملة.
It wasn't only a desperate plea to the world to pay attention to the plight of the Palestinian people. It was a warning to the entire Muslim world that one of their holiest sites is under threat of destruction because they see the writing on the wall. They see the calls from organizations like the Temple Institute and the people who fund them. They see the policies being enacted by the violent and religiously extremist Israeli government, working hand in hand with evangelical Christian extremists. They see the indoctrination of their children, the future generation, where they make their intent clear to destroy the mosque and replace it with the third temple. They understand that these people are working towards their prophesied end times. And they understand that these extremist Jews and evangelicals believe that the key event to triggering this violence, destruction, and chaos is the construction of the third temple. And the construction of this temple doesn't begin until the red heifers are slaughtered, sacrificed, and burned on the Mount of Olives in East Jerusalem. Now, if you think all of this is nonsense, that it doesn't matter, well, It does. And this kind of religious extremism should be worrying, because just imagine what the destruction of the Al-Aqsa Mosque would do to a world currently reeling from the conflict in Ukraine, the genocide in Gaza, the Houthis' blockade of the Red Sea, and the Iranian proxy skirmishes with the United States. Such an event would have the potential to kickstart not just a wider regional war in the Middle East. At best, it would result in global energy and economic crisis, and at worst, nuclear world war. So I don't know about you, but I'm kind of hoping these red heifers grow a few strands of white hairs to invalidate them for the sacrifice, and that someone starts reining in these Israeli and evangelical extremists the same way they reeled in ISIS, because at least ISIS didn't have nukes. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to our channel and donating to our production process. This content takes time to produce, and it's impossible without your support. To a better world. Peace.
So that was a pretty good video, but couple of things. You know, now that the Khilafah, the shield of the Ummah, has been broken, I mean, we've been like so disunited and divided for 100 years. But for me, the magnitude of this is if they do go ahead and carry out with some kind of destruction or attempted beginning of destroying Masjid al-Aqsa to the point where it falls and they begin building their own temple. I mean, that's the kind of Islamic symbolism that can't be attacked. Like, yeah, the world is unfortunately watching a live genocide in Gaza and not doing much about it, including the Muslim states. But that, unfortunately, as tragic as that is, people are very stubborn and they normally react when symbols are attacked. So when a symbol of Islam is attacked, when Aqsa is attacked, I mean, people are gonna, I mean, from what I hope that people would not just sit back and do nothing. The Muslims would not take, I mean, just 2 billion of us. That's the third most holy site.
Like World War III. Because then
That's what I'm saying. Like this would be the straw that breaks.
If you don't do anything there, when are you ever gonna do anything? It's technically
exactly
one of the third most holiest place for Muslims.
Yeah, and that will be a unifying factor. And you know, like we said, even if you are a secularist or atheist, like even you would understand. I mean, you know, religious fanaticism. You've seen ISIS. You see the modern terrorist state of Israel, what they're doing to the Palestinians under the guise of, oh, we're just trying to get Hamas. Yeah, bomb all the 2 million civilians, so they're all gone just to get rid of Hamas. We know that's not the intention. The homes that they have already annihilated in Gaza, that land they've cleared,
I mean, they should be doing more today, not just like waiting for something.
Yeah, they're auctioning those homes off for vacation homes.
Yeah, they're selling it in like New Jersey and stuff. They have like real estate sales, and that's even illegal according to international law and like U.S. law too. But no one cares.
Yeah, they're breaking every international law. They don't care. Even when even now when they're being told to do a ceasefire, they're still bombing.
Yeah, they're still bombing. They don't care about anything, and no one's really stopping them either.
Yeah. So this could be a lot of things as Muslims, just how things are escalating to the end of times, you know, the Dajjal coming, the Jews with their arrival of the Messiah, and then the Christians, you know, evangelical Christians for that matter, believing that it's Jesus who will come back. And then the, you know, mainstream Christians believing that this also is the doorstep for the Antichrist. So I mean, and even like I said, even if you're secular, I mean, this could throw the world that we're already in, like you said, Ukraine, Gaza. I mean, you name it. There's just still so much atrocities happening all over the world, and Africa, and the Uyghur Muslims, and Yemen. You know, even in the United States, like the economic, you know, tension that's just building, the choosing between two presidents that nobody really wants, lack of proper leadership. You know, everything's just escalating even further, like you said, to like maybe like a World War III type of situation. Not to be on the conspiracy theory side of things, but there's no doubt that this whole situation in the Middle East is just adding to the global tension.
I mean, yeah, for like any war in the past, like the triggering events that involves multiple countries and cultures is usually what triggers it. Because something like that would cause a lot of countries to want to, you know, do something, and then just have a domino effect.
People don't think it will happen in their time. They just think it's like loony talk until it happens, you know? Like, it's just how it works. You just don't think about these things. You don't think about, okay, World War I, World War II, you know? Have you ever seen those jokes where it's like like someone comes from the future, they go back in time, they're like, oh, so World War I ended, you know? And then the guy you're speaking to is like, one. Like, when there's another one? So it's like, you never know. You know, you should always be, like well informed and on the lookout. But I don't know what's going to happen regarding this situation because I mean Israel's already doing whatever the hell they want,
Yeah, no one's holding them back or anything. They can just do
and this would
whatever.
actually be a perfect time for them to strike because it's kind of like they tested the waters. They see that no one is really doing much about them doing whatever they're doing to Gaza. They've been illegally taking land over the span of 70 plus years. The Muslim Ummah is completely fragmented and weak. There's no Ottoman Empire. There's no Khilafah. You know, the only one who might have done something was Pakistan. Imran Khan is conveniently in jail. This would be the perfect time to do something like this. And they don't have time to waste. Once those cows turn 3, you think they're going to wait for them to grow a couple of white hairs? They already invested $500,000, and this is 2,000 years in the making. They have the land of Israel, and they finally have these cows, and they're of age, and they want their Messiah to come. It's like too many risk factors for them not to take action. So this is, I mean, most likely they're going to do that ceremony this month, you know, in a couple of days in April, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of seeing as what does it mean? Are they just going to sacrifice and do nothing? I mean, I doubt it. It's the first step in the series of many steps.
Yeah, everything's lining up. You can't deny it. All the facts. And all the Jewish people in that documentary are just talking about it. It's not like some secret thing.
Oh, they're open about it now. I mean, there's other videos I'll probably send you where there's people talking about it. Like, yeah, we're this temple here is going to go. Like, they're just casually talking about how Aqsa is going to fall because that's what they want. That's what they intend. That's what what is all. I mean, now they have government
like reality, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Inshallah,
there's even like there's even a greater Israel project where they want to stem into Egypt, even into the Arabian Peninsula. So they don't want to stop it. They like to steal things. They like to steal land. Sort of thing.
Yeah.
So Allahu Alam, man.
May Allah not allow that to happen and give the Palestinian people to overcome their oppression. I mean, but yeah, guys, hope you'll enjoy the video and this format went well. If you have any questions, comments, or anything, leave it in the comment section below. And assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.